Hi everyone, my name is Alex and I'm the CEO and creator of PocketRA, the app that streamlines the daily task for RAs in college dorms. And today I'm doing a quick Q&A on some of the things with PocketRA, what it does. And so I hope this is useful for people to understand what our product is and get some of the questions answered to help them in the process of deciding if maybe PocketRA is right for them at their institution. So let's start it off here. Can you provide an overview of your company and the product PocketRA? So the company itself is Levi Technologies. I started that about 3 years ago. When I was an RA back in 2018, I created PocketRA, a really bad version of it, but I created it. And during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to grow it a little bit and to bring on a team of engineers and people who actually knew what they were doing to take it to where it is now. And so PocketRA was born out of just me knowing as an RA there was an issue that needed to be solved, and that's that none of the processes made sense. There's a lot of pen and paper and nothing was streamlined at all. And it also came from like resident data being out of date. We had paper rosters in the office and none of that was ever up to date. So you'd be there at 2 a.m. trying to decide if you should let this person into their room or not. So yeah. Next question. What inspired you to create PocketRA? What problem does it aim to solve? So yeah, there's a ton of things that it does solve. At the foundation of it, I created it when I was an RA, specifically for keeping student data up to date. And so that way RAs had the most recent and most up-to-date version of the room assignments. And that allowed then for a more streamlined process in that you have it all in one place. You don't have to question if it's accurate or not. You know that it's the newest thing. And so that's where that was born. And I started building it out of like Google Sheets. I started doing something in there and trying to make it work in that. And then that led me to being like, no, we need to create a full app. The roster, the Excel document is not the problem. It's how it's delivered to the RAs and how it can be updated regularly. And so that was the inspiration, and it was me as an RA trying to solve the problem. And then within that, it kind of branched out into, okay, why couldn't an RA do everything on this device? Why can't they do their program proposals? Why can't they do incident reports? And so then it kind of grew from there, and now we have quite a big app that has almost everything an RA needs right inside of it. Next question. How does PocketRA streamline the daily tasks of resident assistants in college dorms? So there's many ways it does. There's the basic, that everything's in one place. You can pull out your phone, submit a form, submit a report very quickly. I think it also streamlines that you have that connection to all of the data very quickly. So I like to demo when I'm at a conference or an event. I'd like to demo the lockout feature as the clear way of how it streamlines it. So when you were an RA or whoever, when you were doing this, if you were an RA, your lockout procedure took a good 20 to 30 minutes potentially on getting someone back into their room. And the main reason it took so long was because you had to submit some sort of report, some sort of information saying you let this person into this room. And my first year as an RA, that was completely analog. It was a piece of paper that you write the student's name on and the room number and their email, contact information, all of the things. And then you had to confirm that the room number you're telling them is correct. So you'd have to go grab a roster that's out of date and hope that the room numbers match. You're not really 100% confident that that's their room, but that's the information you were given. So you could potentially be letting someone into the wrong room, but that's what the roster, you just had to believe that was right. And hope, which is never good when you're in that situation, especially at 2 a.m. So then we did that. My second year as an RA, we had a Google form, which sounds like a good step forward. But the problem with the Google form was it wasn't made for mobile devices. So you couldn't just pull out your phone and open the Google form. It wasn't formatted in a way that made that useful. And you still had to submit first name, last name, room number, email, phone number, all of this information just on that resident. Then you had to put in your name, RA that completed lockout, RA's email, time, date. So now you have to write out all of these things either on paper or in a Google form. That doesn't streamline it. It sounds like it does, but it does not. And so then I created PocketRA, where it connects into the student data, so that way you have your database. And then when you need to do a lockout, I'll put a demo up on the screen. When you do a lockout, you search for the student's name, you select the name, and then you can put pop-ups to help guide them through the procedure. So in the demo here, you can see that it says, check their ID, that it matches the name that you have and the room number and all that. You click yes or no. So assume you click yes, and then it says just confirm that you want to complete a lockout, say yes, and then that's it. That report is submitted. So there's embedded data within the app of the user, so you don't have to put RA who completed it, you don't have to put date, don't have to put time. That's all just automatically submitted to the RD. And so that now, instead of having to gather all that information, all you had to click were 3 buttons. And then after that, you can go grab the key, let them into their room, and then that's it. And it's a clear example of how it streamlines. There's many ways it streamlines, but that's the one that is so easy to understand. And so now a 20-30 minute lockout is now 5 minutes, not even. So yeah, that's how it streamlines it. That's a great example. Can you walk us through the key features and functionalities of PocketRA? The key features, I mean, lockout I've explained in this video, so that alone is such an amazing tool. We also have the duty calendar, on-call calendar, whatever you guys call it at your school, again, customizable names and things. But the duty calendar is quite a robust system in that you can schedule an RA for a shift, multiple shifts. You can also schedule meetings. So if you want to put in their calendars, their one-on-ones, all of that kind of stuff can go right in there. And then the coolest part of it is that if they can't do that shift anymore, if they need to swap the shift, they just can't do that shift. They can either release it to the open shift pool, which I'll put up another video here, open shift pool. So then that goes to your building. So now your whole building can see that there's an available shift and they can pick it up. But the cool thing is that shift does stay on your schedule until someone else picks it up. So that way you are still responsible for it if no one does pick it up. It doesn't go away automatically. The second thing you can do is direct release, meaning you've spoken to another RA, they want to take your shift, you're not going to swap anything, you're just going to give them the shift and forget about it. So you just go in the app, select the shift, search for the RA that you're wanting to swap with, and then that's it. You click release, and then that's it. And then direct swap is similar, but you have to pick exactly what the shift is that you're taking from that other person. So again, you select the shift, put the name of the RA, select the RA, and then the list of all of their upcoming shifts will populate, and then you select which one you guys talked about or what you're taking, and then it automatically swaps them in real time. And then on the back end for RDs, there's an audit trail of all of that, so you can see over time the changes in all of that and who is moving where, if there's any issues or concerns about which shifts we're taking. That was all there. So you can review it later. And then the other key features, so we have lockout, duty calendar with all of that sub functions that it has. And then we have a flow chart, which is interactive, which is probably one of the coolest things we do. And so how we set that up, because it is a big undertaking, and we do, the whole app is customizable, tailored to your school. So what we do is you actually submit your RA manuals, the big binder, or whatever you guys have, PDF, Word, whatever it is. You submit it during your setup experience, and when that comes to us, we actually have a team that goes through it page by page, and we create this flow chart based off of the RA manual. So we're not asking you to give us this information or to sit and do it with us. All we do is take your RA manual and we use the verbiage there and we simplify it. We don't change things. We don't make our own assumptions on it. And if there are questions in the manual, like some things aren't clear, we will reach out to get further explanation. So we are giving you guys the right thing. And then it's an interactive flowchart. So once we take the RA manual, we're able to set up all of the different situations that an RA might need this flowchart for. And then we create yes and no questions based on the situation, based on your RA manual, to then guide them through whatever situation. Now, it sounds simple, and like if you've been an RA for years, you might not use this feature. But I also think that many RAs think they know the policy and procedure, and then they're faced with a situation that they don't know, and now they have to actually go through it, and they might be a little rusty from their training on it, whatever it was 3 years ago. So that's how that streamlines it. It makes it much easier to get that information. You don't have to bust out the RA manual. There's not an assumption for anyone to memorize that RA manual. Everything you need is right there, and they can trust the process and trust the device on walking them through that situation all the way to the end. So those are the key features. I mean, there's many more, but those are the 3 key features that that we like to present. How does PocketRA improve the overall efficiency and effectiveness of RAs? Well, I spoke a little bit about how, duty calendar, you can easily swap shifts now, so you're not having to submit an email or a request or things like that. It just happens automatically. The RD now doesn't have to sit there and piece it all together and make sense of emails, and then making sure that then they're logging it correctly in whatever Google Sheet, form, whatever they're doing to log it all is correct. So you, break down the possibility for human error by doing it this way. And then also, same thing with student lockout. You don't have to type all of that information about the student in yourself. It's efficient, it's effective, because you just click 3 buttons and that's it. All of the information the RD needs is attached, embedded into that. What else? Overall effectiveness and efficiency. I mean, the effectiveness of the flow chart and being able to click through all the policies, it helps standardize all your processes. I mean, any of the features on there help with that, because it standardizes what you're supposed to do. And if you have all of your buildings on campus are using the same, even as simple as the same incident report or program proposal, everyone is doing the same thing. And then it's not put on the RD itself to maintain that form or that report. You have a whole team of people here at PocketRA that would help manage that, and if there's changes you want, if things like that, and every building gets the same one. So now all buildings are doing the same. An RA can go from one building to another building halfway through the semester and be able to pick up all of the same processes because of that. What sets PocketRA apart from other similar products or solutions in the market? So the one thing I will say about PocketRA is that not only does it streamline, but it's a mobile and web base. And that sounds kind of stupid in this day and age. Like, isn't everything mobile and web? No, not everything is ready for mobile use. And so there's a ton of services out there that do similar things like that. We're very honest about that. But what we do is we make sure that at the heart of it is that it's mobile friendly, and that it can operate on all mobile devices, because that's what makes it efficient. When I was an RA, we had those Google Forms to submit things. We had to go to the office, turn the computer on, wait for the computer to start, and of course there's updates and things like that. Now you're taking more time. So web isn't always the best. Sometimes it needs to be an app on a phone, and so that's what sets us apart in that regard. And then I think the other thing is that we have a small team. Like, we are very nimble. We're not a big corporation or anything like that. We have a handful of engineers and information security folks and people that are professionals within their field that work for us. So we are able to create a truly tailored experience for your RAs, where other companies might have a couple options and that's it, where we can really go in deep and tailor it for you. Are there success stories or testimonies from RAs who have used PocketRA? Yeah, for sure. So we were at SUNY Potsdam for a while, and then we were at City College for a little bit, for a full year actually at City College. And that was during our very early beta testing phase. And so the app has actually come quite a long way since those days. We did complete overhauls on the app from the feedback we received from those beta tests. And so every RA that has seen this, even ones that I've just found through focus groups and things like that, they all go crazy for it. They all want it. They want it immediately. They can see the value in it. And then, as working with RAs that were actually using it when I was an RA, because we did end up using it at my school, the success of it was amazing. It showed how fast things can be. Everything was up to date. People could focus more on their actual duties, like talking to their residents, creating floor programs, and dealing with all that kind of stuff instead of having to figure out what to do next. And I will say it does increase your morale of your RAs because of that, because now what they're, hired to do is not being bogged down by all the administrative work they have to do. And there's so many productivity tools out there for other industries. It's so silly that there isn't one for RAs. And I think that, when we, at my school specifically, switched to PocketRA, morale increased quite well. So, and testimonies, yeah, we have testimonies. They're on our website of people and RAs and RDs who have used it. All the feedback we've received has been really, really good. We have some statistic numbers on our website as well from feedback and focus groups and things like that. So that's all on our website. Tons of information for you to go through. Can you share any data, statistics on the impact of PocketRA has on dorm management? Sure, let me pull up the numbers because I don't have them in front of me. There we go. So three big numbers that we look at are, do RAs prefer PocketRA over Google Forms or paper methods of reporting? And 73% of them answered they prefer PocketRA over that. Another one we look at is, do RAs believe that PocketRA makes their role easier? And 83% of them answered yes, this PocketRA makes their role easier. And then finally, one of our big key metrics that we look at is, would RAs recommend PocketRA to other schools, other RDs, RAs, things like that? And 80% of them said yes to that. So those numbers are pretty good, and we're proud of those numbers. And since we did that focus group, I'm sure they've gone up just because of the work we've been doing to continue to innovate and adjust. One of the big things we've done, even since that focus group, we did an overhaul on our UI, completely stripped it and made it make more sense. We put all of the features and functions right on the homepage, so RAs don't have to click around and find blah, blah, blah. All these apps have these dashboards, and here are your numbers, here's where this is. All this information, RAs don't care. They really don't care. They want to know. They want to open an app and click lockout and do the lockout and then go back to sleep. That's all they want. So using all these focus groups, we've been able to really recreate the app in a way that makes sense for them. And so those numbers that I just listed probably have gone up with just some of the UI work we've done to make it even better. So, and also we've added features like the duty calendar wasn't an original feature. That's a new feature that we've done that we're very proud of. So with all those new features as well, those numbers had to go up. How user-friendly is PocketRA? Is it easy for RAs to adapt to and use? Yeah, I think it is extremely easy. I think, this day and age of, RAs being really in tune with technology, whenever we've released it, it's been a success. There hasn't been confusion on it. People know how to use it. It is intuitive in the way that it's laid out. So when we do our focus groups too, and those are like an hour long, people pick it up right away. There aren't really many questions. And the way I'll explain how our focus groups go. So we basically ask the RAs or the RDs or whoever it is, we give them situational prompts, and then they have to complete it. So like with the flow chart, I might give them a prompt of saying, you smell marijuana in the dorm hall, you need to figure out who you're supposed to call and write that number down for me. And so then they will all complete it, and I won't tell them anything. I won't say go into the flowchart feature. I won't say any of that. All we say, this is your prompt, find me the information. And they all get there. They all know how to get there. And then so we do that for all the features. So when I say swap a duty shift with John or whatever the prompt says, I don't tell them how to do it. They intuitively have to figure it out. And every single time, every person we've done this with can figure it out intuitively. So the user-friendly of it is really user-friendly. It's intuitive, and it's easy for RAs to adapt and use, for sure. What kind of support and training do you offer for RAs who start using PocketRA? So part of your license of PocketRA comes free trainings. So we do two free in-person or remote trainings depending on what your school wants. And so the first one that we do is with your administrative staff. So that's training number 1. And then so they can learn the admin console, what features they have that are different than RAs, how to get the most out of being an admin instead of just knowing you're an admin. And I think a lot of problems with a lot of products is they set up the app and then they hand it to you and then walk away. We don't do that. We want to sit there with you. We want to make sure you know how to use it so you get the most out of the product that we're giving you. And then the second training is for your RAs. So we can do that. Typically we do one big session. We get them all in a room, and I usually put up a demo on the screen or something like that, and we walk through all the features, and then we allow them to ask questions. And then it becomes kind of a Q&A, and that, again, the trainings are usually an hour long, pretty simple. And then for ongoing support and questions like that, there is support at levitechnologies.com, monitored by a whole group of different types of people. So not only is it monitored by like client success and those people, it's also going to be monitored by our engineers. So certain emails get routed to the specific teams. And so with that, within 24 hours, we will respond and fix the issue of whatever the issue might be. Or if it's a question or something like that, we'll answer it within 24 hours. If it's an urgent support request, we ask that you put urgent in the subject line, and we will do it as fast as we can. And urgent could mean like the whole app is down. Urgent could be it's not pulling my student data correctly, or whatever issue there is that now the app can't work the right way. We get very few of those kind of situations. We have never gotten urgent things like that, but we do have, if you put urgent, it will automatically get put to the top of the pile of support tickets. How does PocketRA ensure the privacy and security of the data collected? So we actually have a chief information security officer. So I would defer to him on exactly what the nitty gritty is. You know, I'm not an engineer. I don't pretend to be one, but we do, constant penetration testing. We do risk assessments on an ongoing basis. And so we have never had any high risk situations from those tests. We do that on a regular basis, so that's weekly. We do those testing on the app. So if we find something, we will find it just through those natural testings. All of your student data is encrypted from end to end. We have obviously specific password requirements for the RAs. We have automatic sign-out, so if the app is not been used for a certain amount of time, the app will log out on its own. So there's tons of things. All of our service, we use different third-party service providers within the app to help customize and do different things and store data. All of those are SOC 2 certified, if you know what that means. And we do, when we are bringing on a third party, we do our due diligence to make sure that it is a secure third-party service with all of the credentials it needs. So app is very secure and nothing to worry about there at all. Are there any plans to expand PocketRA's functionality or introduce new features in the future? So we actually have a 5-year plan. So we have tons of things coming down the pipeline. I don't want to kind of give anything away too early, but one of the big things we're doing is we're going to be integrating a whole big push for messaging. So there'll be a messaging feature coming up in newer versions. We're also planning to, at some point, do a resident-facing app. So residents can have a tool to connect with their RAs, and we'll be able to connect them through chats, allow residents to do their work orders through the app, for like maintenance requests. And so then that way you're starting to have an ecosystem within your dorms. So then, your security guard has their app down at the front door. If you guys have a security guard, your residents have their app, your RAs have an app, and your RT has their admin console and their mobile app as well. So you're now connecting all of the pieces, and you're creating an ecosystem within your dorms. And then also we're hoping to go into a little bit of hardware as well. So the plan would be to start offering, rentals of devices if you need devices and things like that as just an addition if people need them, just because I know schools constantly need them, and we'll offer full support on them and implementation with a white glove treatment on them. And then also we would like to create ecosystem of different monitors and screens throughout the dorm that displays who's on call or on duty and all those things, and just information that's happening within the dorms. That way you have center points with information for residents clearly on monitors and things like that. So we have that whole hardware aspect that we're hoping to go down the road with a little bit more, but yeah, we have tons of things coming out, tons of new features. And as we do, conferences and events and focus groups, we always come out with like, all right, we need to do this feature, this feature, this feature. So we have a running list of brand new features coming out, and we're just going to continue to expand every year. So that's the plan. How does PocketRA integrate with existing systems or tools commonly used by RAs? So yeah, lots of schools use third-party apps and service softwares that you guys have paid tons of money for. We have never said that we replace those systems. That's not our goal. Our goal at the end of the day is to make one comprehensive app for RAs. So one way we do that is by, if you have forms that you like to use and don't want to use our native forms, we can embed those within the app. I obviously preface that embedding things might not always give the best user experience, but if it's a hard sell and that's what you think is the right move, we will happily do that. If you have Maxian for incident reporting, we can put the Maxian form within the app. That way it's all right there for them. We can also do linking. So like if you want to link it to a PDF or a document, we can, instead of having any kind of any form submission, we can also have it linked to something else. Again, the more we use those kind of ways, the less it becomes, the functionality goes down for like our admin console and getting email responses. We lose that control, which is fine. But then when you come for support or things like that, we can't always help in the same way because they're not our systems. I will say if you guys use other more in-depth services, like I said, we have a small team. So like if there's something that you guys are really looking for, we can sit down and perhaps create something specific for your school. So if you're using StarRes or something and want something specifically pulled from that, we can create APIs that connect into those kind of things and make sure that it's exactly what you guys want it to be. I will say those kind of customizations take a long time, so they're not going to be overnight. What I usually recommend to those schools is that we would do a native function on our app, so all of the forms would be our native versions, and we get that into the hands of RAs so they can start getting used to it. And then the following semester or following year, depending on the kind of customization and how in-depth it is, we would then hopefully be ready to release whatever it is. So whatever customization or in-depth customization it is. Other than that, if you're using our native forms, things like that, or if you want to embed forms or specific links and things like that, that's all possible, no problem overnight. So what we want to work with you, we have a small team, we're nimble enough to be able to do bigger customizations like that. What is next? Can you talk about the scalability of PocketRA? Can it accommodate different sizes and types of dorms? Yeah, totally. So we don't have any caps on number of users or anything like that. We monitor that constantly, and we do load testing on a regular basis. So we're able to know what our app can handle. And if we know that we're bringing on a client that has more users than we've had before, or it pushes our overall threshold into new territory, a lot of it is very simple, updating some of our systems to the next tier level, like our database and things like that. So yeah, everything's scaled. When we built it for scalability in our heads. So yeah, totally. What has been the feedback from colleges and universities that have implemented PocketRA? Yeah, so there's the RD feedback, and then there's the RA feedback. RA feedback has been amazing. RAs love it. They think it's really, really useful. The one thing that I will say, just to be completely transparent, is that one thing that RAs find is if the school wants them to use PocketRA, but also asks them to do other things on top of that, now it becomes a waste of a resource. So we did have one school that was allowing their RAs to submit through PocketRA all of their forms and reports, but then ask them to send an email as well with the report to the RD with the things written out in the body. The RD's already got the email from PocketRA, so I think there's just a miscommunication on how the service works. But that's one thing, is if we are doing PocketRA, if we're going to implement PocketRA, we have to go full in and look at it as a comprehensive solution and be the primary RA management tool. And that might look different for other schools, but for the RA experience, anything RAs have to do, we should try our best to keep it within the app as much as possible, or else you're going to notice RAs aren't going to use it because it's a waste of time for them then. And then RDs really like it because it does remove them from some of the steps needed, especially for duty swap and things like that. And having to go in and move things and keep track. It simplifies all of that. A lot of schools have different, spreadsheets with all of their Google Forms. They don't have to manage those. They also like that we have 24-hour email support. Like, that's a really big thing that they've enjoyed. They know that if they email us, we'll get back to them with a response and fix whatever the issue is. We also, when we do set up, we, really do it. We do it all together as one big process. And we take as much information of things that you already have to be able to create it. So we don't ask you to outline what your incident report is. We ask for the RA manual and then a copy of what your current incident report is, and we design it based on that information. So we streamline the setup process through that as well. So overall good feedback. And when we do focus groups, it's been really, really cool. Tons of, when we go to events, RDs, RAs, everyone are just blown away by it. They think it's the coolest thing in the world, to be truthfully honest. So, how does PocketRA contribute to a positive living experience for students in college dorms? Yeah, it's a good question. And so I think there's an indirect relationship, but, by RAs being able to submit lockouts instead of 30 minutes, it's now 5 or 2 minutes long, just quicker by that. They can now spend time. If we add up all the time that's been taken to do administrative work, they can now use that time and refocus their energy towards community development, taking care of at-risk students, and all of those kind of things. So there's that indirect relationship that comes with it. But also, as we expand and we start bringing in the resident portals and the resident apps, the residents will have connection into this world of this ecosystem of PocketRA. So even, right now there's that there will be direct relationships as we're coming down the road that are going to skyrocket the overall experience for living in dorms. The one thing residents want is they want an app for everything. They want a way to complete things simply. They don't want to talk to people. They want to be able to pull out the phone and figure it out, or message someone or chat with someone. That's what they want. That's where we're at right now. So yeah, we have the connection now. It's going to continue just getting better as we start growing. Are there plans to collaborate with other companies or institutions in the education sector? Yeah, totally. So we actually have a couple different other companies that we've been working with to see if there's relationships to be had. Nothing currently on the horizon, but we do have those conversations a ton to see if there's other companies that have services that we can implement within PocketRA to again streamline everything. Yeah. Can you share any insights or lessons you've learned since launching PocketRA? So I've learned a ton. Obviously, when we were in the beta phase, it was really, really tough because we got a ton of feedback and knew we spent years building what we sent out for beta, and it wasn't what RAs wanted at the time. And so we quickly redid everything and then redid the beta, and we got completely different feedback. So we were able to figure it out, but it's a lot of, trial and error in that regard, and what, we think that RAs want and what they actually want. But that's why we do those sessions. We learn a ton. Since launching PocketRA, I think just learning that people want this, people are hungry for it. That's true. And then also just connecting within the industry, going to conferences has been a really great experience for us in growing the business. Any other insights or lessons? Nothing that I can think of right now, but we've we've done so much. I think just kind of on the business side, you deal with, I'm learning to run the company and dealing with different personalities and types of people and managing that. And also just being able to look at a problem and figure out how we're going to solve it. So definitely learned how to problem solve on the fly very quickly. And then everyone, when you're running a company like this, everyone looks to you for the answer. So being able to have the answer and being able to say, I don't know, and let's circle back because we don't know everything, and we will need to come back to things. So yeah, learned a lot. We're still learning every single day as we continue the process. So. And then lastly, what is your vision for the future of PocketRA and its impact on college dorm management? So I spoke a little bit about this. The future of PocketRA is an ecosystem. We want to build an ecosystem within your dorms. That is the long-term goal. And then outside of that goal, a larger ecosystem if we are so lucky to be able to go that far. But that's the future of PocketRA. We're going to be one big ecosystem for you. So, all right, that's all the questions. Thank you so much for your time, and please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions or if your school wants a demo of PocketRA. But thanks so much for taking the time.